Let's get analysis on this with Toby Vogel, who joins us from Brussels. He's a political analyst and co-founder of Democratization Policy Council. Toby, good to speak to you. So how are these talks between NATO defense leaders, or ministers rather, going to be any different to the ones they've had in the past?
Well, I think there is a sense of urgency right now at ministerial level, at the level of leaderships in the West. There is a feeling that this might be the beginning of the end game, diplomatically much more so than militarily. I don't think that, the capture, if indeed it is the capture of Pokrovsk by the Russian armed forces, is necessarily the big breakthrough that the Russians claim it is. But of course, it would be symbolically a blow to the Ukrainian armed forces, the Ukrainian resistance. But the main theater right now is international diplomacy.
Why then is Russia playing up the capture of Petrovsk? Because they've said that it is a strategic city that is the gateway to other areas in eastern Ukraine. And as we heard from our correspondent there, they could possibly use that as a bargaining chip with the Americans.
Certainly. I mean, there's no doubt, this is a psychological blow, a symbolic blow to Ukraine, to the Ukrainian side. It feeds this narrative that the Russians are using, that their military victory is inevitable and that therefore the Ukrainians better negotiate. And this is a narrative that has been taken up and fully embraced, really, by the U.S. administration. They're in essence saying, look, resistance is futile. You're not going to be able to resist the Russian war machine much longer. You have to come to the negotiating table now. So in that sense, I think that is really the true importance of the fall of Pokrovsk. If indeed it has fallen, the Ukrainian side has not confirmed that, and I believe they're saying that they're still in control of parts of the city. But, in terms of strategic importance, I mean, there's been a battle going on around that city for a year and a half now. The critical infrastructure that was there is destroyed. It's largely depopulated and destroyed. So you could argue this is a Pyrrhic victory, really, for the Russian armed forces, which took enormous losses to take this town.
Toby, what do you then make of Putin saying just a few hours ago that Europeans are interested in war and their demands aren't acceptable to Russia, and that Russia will continue to expand its attacks on Ukraine and even go to war with Europe if that's what they want? Is this another ploy in terms of negotiations, considering he made these comments right before his discussions with Steve Witkoff?
I think this is part of the Kremlin's psychological warfare manual. The narrative that Russia is interested in peace, but that Ukraine and the Europeans are not, that they are warmongers, that is a long-standing narrative from the Kremlin side, distributed through its usual channels, its media, social media, and so on. So that's nothing new. But of course, reiterating that, and for Putin to say this immediately before these talks with Witkoff and Kushner in Moscow is of course designed to sort of yank up the temperature and again take the moral high ground, as it were, and present himself and the Russian leadership as constructive. Mm-hmm. They're the constructive ones, allegedly. They're engaging in diplomacy while the Europeans are trying to obstruct. And of course, that has to be seen against the backdrop of these behind-the-scenes talks between the Europeans and the Americans, with the Europeans trying to make the original 28-point plan a little bit more equitable and tilting it a little bit more in Ukraine's favor.
Is that why Ukraine's leader Zelensky has been visiting his allies like France and Ireland today to continue to try and shore up that support, considering he also has domestic issues at home?
He certainly does, yes. I mean, this whole corruption probe is unprecedented in its sweep, in its width, and it is, I think, a good look for Zelensky, not just to be sitting at home in his presidential palace office, waiting for events to unfold around him, but to be seen to be active. Now, with regards to France, obviously, these are very important talks. France is a key ally. It is one of the very few, one of really two military powers in Western Europe. Ireland is more symbolic. Ireland is not part of NATO, but Ireland and has a very small army, small armed forces. But Ireland also has a long tradition of UN peacekeeping. So I think it has to be seen against that backdrop.
Thank you very much, political analyst Toby Vogel there for us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.